We will call to order the Cumberland County Finance meeting, and we will begin with a roll call. Please, Lauren.
Absolutely. Commissioner Nieder.
I am here.
Commissioner Fasci.
I'm here.
Commissioner Eichelberger.
Present.
We are at the point on the agenda where we open it up to public comment. If there's anyone wishing to make public comment online, please use the raise your hand feature. Nope, we don't have anyone, and folks are in the room, but I think it's for something else. So we'll move on to the approval of the minutes of the October 8th meeting.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next up, we have a proclamation that we're going to be presenting, recognizing October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And we're delighted to have some women here from domestic violence. And I'm going to read the proclamation first, and then we'll get up and hear a little bit from them. And we will go from there. So Cumberland County Commissioners recognize Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Whereas domestic violence is a life-threatening crime that affects millions of people and knows no boundaries, impacting individuals of all ages, economic statuses, races, religions, and educational backgrounds. And whereas more than 12 million people are victims of domestic violence each year, an average of 32 people per minute are victims of rape, physical violence, or stalking by an intimate partner throughout the United States. And whereas closer to home, Domestic Violence Services of Cumberland and Perry counties has been assisting victims of domestic violence with counseling, advocacy, support groups, community outreach, and a batter's intervention program. And whereas throughout 2024, the Domestic Violence Services of Cumberland and Perry County staff answered 1,727 hotline calls, housed 116 adults and 89 children in their shelter, spent 2,727 hours counseling victims, and assisted 430 individuals in obtaining protection from abuse orders. And whereas DVSCP provides empowerment counseling for adults and children impacted by domestic violence. Counselors focus on minimizing stress, providing emotional support, and helping improve coping strategies for the individual's immediate situation. And now, therefore, the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners hereby proclaims October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month and urges victims to contact DVSCP for support. It's just a text or a phone call away. It's presented on this 22nd day of October, 2025. So ladies, whomever, we'd love to have you come up. We'll take some official pictures and hear from you all. Stephanie Spurgeon?
Yes. Sonia Brown.
Sonia Brown. And I'm sorry, Sonia, I know Stephanie, sorry, the positions. I'm
I'm the
director. And Stephanie.
I'm the direct services
Direct
supervisor.
service. Okay.
This is Amanda Novak, our shelter supervisor.
Thank you for coming down. So you ladies wanted, that's the official and the small print. I needed the big one.
All right, we'll do a picture. I'm gonna take a couple.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Want to say a few words? We'd love to hear a little bit of an update on what's happening. Jean has her purple on. And
Thank you. Well, you gave our stats, which is helpful because I know it's your finance meeting, but I'm not a numbers person, so I'm glad you gave them all for us. So we are actually, I was looking at the numbers where we came. Our hotline calls are where we're at in October. We're going to surpass where we were the last year, where we are seeing more calls, more services to individuals in our county. Our shelter has been full all summer. We're looking for, we filled all of our 10 bedrooms. We're hoteling extra families, but we no longer have that money to put extra families in hotels. So we're looking for safe places to put families. We don't have a backup plan at this time, just for funding reasons. So we're always trying to come up with that plan B. We are busy. So, domestic violence touches 1 in 3 women, 1 in 4 men. It's a lot of people that it's a lot of people in our county. So, any way that you can support, just contact us if you have any thoughts, ideas, anything, we're always open to those. And we just appreciate your ongoing support. So thank you.
I know we've had one of the ladies down in the lobby as well.
Yes.
To raise awareness for folks entering the building, and the vigil that Commissioner Fashi and I attended was very heart-wrenching to hear the stories. So thank you for bringing awareness to the issue for everyone. And Sonia, did you want to say a few words as well?
Just wanted to thank you for your acknowledgement of it. It's kind of weird to say that, but we have to keep people aware that there is domestic violence in our community. We have community members who are hurting, community members who are being abused. And it's all of our responsibility to do something about it. And so we're very grateful for the month being acknowledged by the commissioners, by the county, and just grateful for an opportunity to let you know that your neighbors are hurting and you can do something about it. So just give us a call or a text. We'd be happy to come in and support anybody who needs our support.
Thank you. You do that regularly. And I know you work closely with our DA's office, and many of their staff work very closely with them. And we really appreciate the support that you provide to the folks that come through our doors. So
Thank you.
anyone else wants to add anything? Amanda, you have anything? No. I think one of the most important things that was said today, and it's in that proclamation, is that domestic violence is a life-threatening crime. It's a crime. And I think that's very important. You've made some headway with the legislation on PFAs?
We're still working on it.
Working on it.
We're working on
Okay,
it.
so that's a plea, I guess, to help with that, to
Mhm.
contact your representatives
That's
to urge support for the movement of some making the PFAs.
Stricter penalties,
Stricter
violations for PFA, stricter penalties for PFA violations. That's what it is.
Yeah, well, we need those. Thank you, ladies. Thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
So, you're free to stay for the rest of the meeting, but I understand if you've got other things that you want to do.
Thank
Thank you so much. Good to see you too. All right. Next up, we have our update from our conservation district. And with us, we have the director, Carl Gauchard, and Vince McCullum. Carl, is this your last hurrah here for us?
It is my last presentation.
All right. Well, we will.
I should let Vince do it all, right? Yeah, appreciate the time to give our 6 months, I guess I'll call it a checkup on what we got accomplished here in the last 6 months or so. I'll give you permission if you want to use that picture here for any county presentation that was taken by employee one morning facing east. So that's a pretty nice picture. I'm sure you'll see that on our calendar somewhere.
That is a really nice one.
Yeah. First program we'll talk about is the County Envirothon. You're familiar with that. That's a program we've been working with since 1986, believe it or not, a couple of years before I started working. And it's a competition for senior high students. They get tested in aquatics, forestry, soils, and wildlife, and the current issue station. Here they're working on forestry questions and everything during the competition. This year we had over 80 students participate, 5 public schools participated. Some years we've had all 9. It varies year to year on the how busy the students are, the teachers. So Brooke's goal is to have all the school districts participate next year. So she's really going to reach out and try to do that. It takes a lot of coordination when you're getting food for over 100 people, which include staff and agency people and everything. And we have awards for top 3 in each division. And this picture here shows the winners of the wildlife station. And I put that in there because we hear from students that say they like the Envirothon because they're able to touch base with cooperating agencies. Like here we have the 2 game wardens for Cumberland County, and students are able to talk to them in person. So I've heard from past employees or interns that we've had that they like that, where they're able to, they have no other opportunity ever to talk to them. So this is why I put that picture in there to show that. And the overall winners were Shippensburg University, Shippensburg High School. It was their first win in 30 years. And 1995 was the last time they won the local competition. So that was pretty nice. And they went on and represented us pretty well. They finished in the top 15. So pretty high.
I think it might.
They did well at the state level. So that's the Envirothon. It was held at Pine Grove Furnace State Park this year. We had a nice day. Obviously, Fuller Lake in the background there. Next is our tree
Can
sealing.
I just ask
Yep.
one question on that? So with getting the schools to participate, is it a matter of having a counselor that's willing to take on kind of getting the teams ready?
It's mostly not a counselor. It's mostly a teacher or environmental education committee type person. It just takes somebody who has the interest. So we do reach out to counselors to see what teachers would have the interest in everything, but I don't think we've ever had actual counselors. It's mostly a teacher,
Teachers or club
leaders, environmental club leaders, stuff like that.
Okay.
And when they change, sometimes we'll have them for 10, 15 years, and if they retire or change positions, then it's tough to get that next person to take over that. That's what Boiling Springs, we had them participate for a number of years. The teacher took a new position, and she gave us names or maybe that would do it, and just no luck. So it takes some more background work to really try to get everyone participating. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Next, tree sealing sale, our annual sale. It's always a big event. We're known to a lot of people. We're the tree people, and you can see the size of the trees. Those are the fruit trees, apple trees, cherry trees, pear. I mean, some of them are 6, 7 feet tall, and people love the fruit trees. They really gotten big over the years. And there you see we have it's a drive-through sale anymore. Once COVID hit, that's what we had to go through, drive-through instead of everyone getting out of the tent. And it seems to work pretty well. It's kind of like a well-oiled machine when we're handing them out and everything. And there you see, we tell people stay in their vehicles. We'll bring the trees to them. And I threw this in there just to laugh. Matt always says, he's the face of the district. And so we had him out there handing out the paperwork to all the people there. He didn't do it for 2 days straight, but we get a laugh out. He's the face of the district.
It's the official Chick-fil-A greeter, right?
Yeah.
Or order taker.
There's the numbers for sales and everything. And one thing I'll highlight there is Red Bud, Serviceberry, and Sweet Bay Magnolia. Those were potted plants. And so we started selling those 2 years ago, containerized. And even though they cost a lot more, people like that because they only have to buy one, and it's a better chance of survival when it comes in and containerized like that. So to me, the bare root trees are harder and harder to find. And we kind of joke saying we'd like to go to all containerized tree sale, but some people still like the bare roots. But good numbers. 367 customers. A few years ago, we even had up to 525 customers the first year after COVID hit and we didn't have a sale. But numbers are still big. And last time I checked, we were like 3rd or 4th largest tree sale from conservation districts in the state. So still good numbers. And there you have our financial report. At the bottom, you see over $8,000 made. And that helps to support, it pays for all the expenses for the Envirothon that I just talked about. Helps for the awards ceremony that you'll see later on, the awards. Some of our meals, picnic and things like that. So pays for all that. So we don't have to ask for any other money for that. So it's a good sale this year and gets a lot of good plants out in the environment.
Plus, Carl, it looks like you're supporting some local businesses in Cumberland County with your purchases.
Yes.
And things like that as well.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they appreciate it.
We've had as high as 25 vendors that we, bought something from. I think this is less than 20, but one year we had over 25 vendors that we were buying things from for this tree sale. So yeah, helps the economy. Next, I wanted to highlight a couple projects that we did, ag projects, CEG and ACAP. This is a farm in North Middleton Township, or not far off 74, north of Carlisle. And you see the barn lot, they have the runoff there. And this next picture really shows the runoff. So obviously down at the bottom of that hill is a ditch, and that ditch goes through culvert and then over to a pond and then the stream. So obviously a lot of nutrients leaving this farm. And so this is what we built, a roofed heavy use area and then a stacking pad. And you'll notice at the top of the pictures, there's fans there. And the reason I'll bring those fans up is we talk to the farmers and they say with fans and the circulation, they have to use half the bedding for the cattle. And you see the bedding in there. This farmer said he was using a lot of bedding, and when he put the fans in, he used half per week of what he did because of the air circulation, keeping it dry. So the farmers that we've been working with are now going back and purchasing these fans because it is saving a lot on bedding. That's why I wanted to highlight that it's not only protection of the water, but also good air circulation, helps with herd health and everything like that because of the circulation. Now, we don't pay for the fans. That's on their own, but we do pay all the other parts. And here's the stacking area for the manure. And then it's stacked there it's designed for up to 6 months, and then it's put on the field at the optimal time. So it's not running off in the wintertime. And there's the finished product. And you can see a couple spots in the grass on the bank. That's where the pipes come out from the downspouts. So it's clean water compared to what you saw earlier picture. So much improvement there. And this is another project, Bob Kiefer's western part of the county. And you can see this was already built. He had a stacking area and a barnyard area, but it was running off because all the water is reaching it. So all we did was put the roof up. And you see the downspouts in the middle, and they go down, and then they go to a sump area, and it helps to recharge groundwater, and it's clean water. So 2 projects were completed. We have currently 2 other ones completed and 5 other ones in progress that will be done by the end of the calendar year. So lots of ACAP and CEG money, and talking with Emily this morning, we have 8 or 9 projects probably planned for next year. So a lot of great work, keeping what we say is keep the clean water clean. Why let it mix in with the manure and then try to separate it? So that's what we've been doing. There's a lot more beef operations in the county than, dairy's been a lot less dairy and a lot more beef. And so we're working with mostly a lot of beef farmers recently.
Carl, what you said 8 or 9 lined up for next year. Is that about on average what you think you can reasonably accommodate within a year?
Yeah, because it takes, you go out and go to the farm and do an inventory and evaluation of the farm to determine what issues there are. Then an engineer has to do a estimate. Then a design has to happen. Then you have to bid it out and get a contractor. Then the contractor has to get it on his list of projects. So it takes about a year from when you first start till it's completed project. It's a long process.
And do you have like a wait list of people that want to be
so
on
those
there?
8 or 9 are kind of on the wait list. They haven't signed contracts with us, but they've shown interest, and we've talked with them. And when we get to them, we will do all the paperwork and that. So that's kind of like 8 or 9 is the waiting list for next year. Yeah.
And do you know in all of this funding because I've just become more aware of this critical ground recharge spaces from the Susquehanna River Basin Commission. Is there any funding tied into that at all?
No.
These projects?
It is not. I guess there is grant money out there for that, but we're getting it really from the state, the ACAP program. That's an annual allocation that we're going to get. Our allocation for Cumberland is like 700 and some thousand, and then CEG. That's also separate money. That's been a lot of federal money in the past, but now it's mostly state money. ACAP is all state money. So, yeah. Next, I wanted to highlight, obviously Ridge Road is well known for the work that was done there and how bad a shape it was to begin with. And so the Dirt and Gravel Road program had they have an award each year. They started last year, and we submitted their name and their information and all the work they had done. And they received the Municipality of the Year award here about a month ago at Gettysburg when they had the statewide conference. And here's a picture of Tom Day and Eddie, the roadmaster, accepting that on behalf of Mount Holly. They did a lot of work there, and during that conference, we had 2 busloads of people from across the state tour Ridge Road and East Street. They were doing some stormwater work on East Street in Mount Holly. That's a low volume project. So we had 2 busloads that come up to see the work that was being done here in Cumberland. So a lot of good work there, and it got recognized statewide. That was great to see. And lastly, the awards we give out locally, Clean Water Award given to Mainline Excavating for the good work that they do. So that was handed out about a month ago. And here we have Middle Spring Watershed. They've done a lot of great work protecting Middle Spring Creek and tributaries to Middle Spring. Denny McCullough, most of you probably all know Denny McCullough. I told him I said we should have probably recognized him about a decade ago for the work he's done. Done a lot of great work. I looked at the list of farmers. I'm like, I can't believe we haven't given it to the McCullough family. So he finally got it, and very deserving. He's on, as you know, on the Farmland Preservation Board. His land is preserved, and he does conservation work, conservation tillage, no tilling. He did roof heavy use area for his beef operation under the CEG program a couple years ago. So he's done about everything.
And he's the 5th generation, I think,
Yes,
on his
5,
farms.
yeah.
And so his son, 6th, and grandchildren, 7th
Yeah.
generation
Right.
on that, which is really
It's amazing.
very cool for Cumberland County.
Right. Yep. And lastly, Cindy Adams Dunn, the Secretary of DCNR. We recognize them for the work that they helped for Ridge Road and gave them the Conservation Organization of the Year award and gave her a picture of the check ceremony there, and she was real appreciative of that. So it was great. So
next, I'll get into the ENS NPDS program and just how things have been this year. Just briefly, a little summary about the program. So the goal is to minimize erosion sediment from earth moving activities. The regulated activities are if you're disturbing 5,000 square feet or more of earth, then you're required to have a written ENS plan. If it's an acre or more, then it requires an NPDES permit, which is a National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System permit. There's 3 levels of delegated authority to conservation districts, 1, 2, and 3. Cumberland County is level 3, which gives us the ability to go to enforcement with companies, permittees that have violations through the program. It also includes education. We do some education outreach activities, including trainings for contractors and so on. It involves ENS plan reviews, NPDS permit reviews. We go out and do field inspections on the active earth moving sites, investigate complaints that called in related to erosion sediment control. As I mentioned, the enforcement, and then I'll just go over a brief 2025 year-to-date overview. So just looking at some trends of our total inspections, it's typically cyclical. Some of this, the downfall or the sort of downward trend after 2019 was probably had some impact from COVID. And as you can see, we're starting to build back up our number of inspections out in the field. Part of that is due to having a part-time position that just solely does ENS inspections out in the field. And another reason that there was sort of a decline in inspections is there's always more administrative burdens put on the permitting program. So it never gets any easier to obtain permits to go out and do activities on your property. And so there's more responsibility, more activities that we have to do as part of our delegation agreement with the Department of Environmental Protection. Looking at the total number of plans submitted, this doesn't tell a whole lot, especially with when you look at the 2024 REN part of the graph. That was at the end of 2024, the general permit for NPDS came through a 5-year cycle renewal. So that number is skewed by about 120. So it really was on par with 2023. And then if you look at the far right column, the 2025 year to date, that is basically will be pretty much in line with back to like 2023 and last year if you don't include the renewal process. Looking here at our fees, the green part of each column is ENS project fees, the red is NPDS permit fees, and then the orange is PCSM, which I guess I'll sort of back up a little bit. When I was talking about the levels of delegation, Cumberland County is also delegated post-construction stormwater management. And there's only a handful of conservation districts in the state that have level 3 and PCSM delegation, Cumberland being one of those. So that gives us the ability to do technical reviews on post-construction stormwater management plans as well. So looking at the total fees going through the past few years, on the 2025 year to date, we are going to be right about in line with the previous 2 years. Here's just a comparison of 2024 year to date versus 2025. Number of plans is relatively close, a few more plans this year. The ENS project fees are very similar. The NPDS permit fees is down a little bit, which is just circumstantial. And then the PCSM project fees are down a little bit this year. That's a little more substantial. And that would be because we have received less individual permitted NPDS permitted projects this year, which that PCSM fee is tied to the individual permitted projects that get submitted. So the total, it's within $14,000. So that's not a huge deviation from last year to date versus this year to date. Looking forward with the ENS program, some things that we're considering with the workload, as I said, sort of alluded to earlier, the workload is not slowing down. In addition to Cumberland just being very busy with development, there's also more permitting requirements and responsibilities on our end. So it just does require a lot of staff time. So that current part-time ENS inspector position that we have right now that was added 1.5 years ago, there's consideration of maybe converting that to full-time as we move forward. No general fund money would be used for that. We would use our clean water fund for that, which comes from the fees that we charge for the service. Related to PCSM, there was a new DEP initiative that we thought could potentially alleviate some of the workload on the individual NPDS permitted projects that come in. We haven't really seen that take off at this point. So I don't know that there's going to be a reduction in the PCSM workload moving forward. But if there would be a reduction, then that's something to consider. If not, we have a part-time engineer right now because of workload. If it continues to increase and there's no alleviation due to that new DEP initiative, then that position could potentially be converted to full-time as well if needed.
That's the SPEED program. You probably heard of it, that acronym.
Yeah, no SPEED projects have been submitted in Cumberland so far. I think Lebanon might be the closest one, or no, Dolphin just got one.
Dolphin,
Yeah,
but not many.
right. And then also, as I mentioned, we do charge fees for services. Every so many years, we do an analysis to look at if the fees we're charging are appropriate for the cost to implement the program. The last time we increased it was in 22. So probably in the next couple of years, we will look at our fee schedule, do an analysis of that, see if we need to potentially bump up the fees that we're charging for the service. And it's not just staff that looks at that. There's a committee that involves the regulated community. There's a developer on the committee. There's an earth moving contractor on the committee. So we get input from those who are being regulated in order to make that decision and do the analysis. So we involve them in part of the process. And then succession planning has been discussed here a good bit recently with the county. And as was alluded to, this is probably going to be Carl's last finance meeting update. And really, it's the succession planning that the Conservation District has done really started in 2017 with the creation of the assistant manager position. And then more recently with Carl moving into retirement, we really looked at the strategy of transitioning the office, not only beyond Carl, but also beyond myself. I mean, I'm not going to be here forever either. And we looked at the structure of the district moving forward with that. So we worked with HR closely to finalize the succession planning and the document for that. So After we did the succession plan, next was implementing it. I sort of highlighted a lot of this already, but this sort of walks it through. We created 2 program manager positions, one to oversee the erosion sediment control program, one to oversee the ag programs. And then I moved into the permanent district manager position. Carl was to a temporary position, and then that will be eliminated once he retires. We have then since hired the ENS program manager who I'm training. The ag program manager was just promoted from within. That existing technician position was then eliminated. Carl's working on training that staff person at this time. And then over the next month or 2, Carl and I will work together to finish training me. And then Carl will ride off into the sunset there, as you see on the bottom of the slide.
What am I writing?
So this just shows, as we were doing the succession planning, the office structure pre-succession planning. So just coming down through, there was Carl, then I was the assistant manager, all the ENS staff under me, and then all the ag staff, watershed specialist, the district engineer under Carl. And then under the new structure, you have the district manager, Carl/me at this time, the new ENS program manager, which is Thomas Swartz, and then he oversees the erosion sediment control staff. So Thomas, the district engineer, the watershed specialist, and then the ag program manager would be under the district manager moving forward. Emily Stanball is who was promoted to the ag program manager from within at the district, and then she will oversee the other 2 ag staff that are listed below her. So this is the current format of the district as we move forward, and then at the end of the year, Carl's name will just be removed from that one little block.
What is that?
But not forgotten.
Oh, yeah.
So then finally, to wrap this up, each year we have a golf tournament. This was our 23rd year, so we've been doing it a long amount of time. We have it at Rich Valley Golf. This is just a summary of the proceeds each year. This past year was our largest year. We raised almost $13,000. And since inception, we're at just over 88,000 that have been raised. We use this for conservation schools, for students to support them, help for college scholarships, Envirothon scholarships, or I should say scholarships for students who participated in the Envirothon. So all this money goes back into supporting students who are pursuing careers in the conservation field. And just some highlights from the golf outing. This is just a graphical form. You can see that the number of participants over the past 10 years has really increased. We're sort of averaging just over 100 participants in the golf outing. And as an average, we're, the last 3 years, 8,700, 8,300, and this year, just under 13,000. So it's certainly a good program and raise a lot of money for a great cause. Just some picture highlights here at registration as we have the day out at Rich Valley Golf. Just everybody gathering together before we head out in the field. It's a shotgun start at 9 a.m. And then this year, since it was Carl's last tournament, as an employee of the district, there was a little surprise that a few people and a great idea got together on. But so we worked with somebody who donated 120 sleeves of golf balls that had Carl's face on them. And we handed the sleeves of balls out to all the participants except Carl, and then had a little surprise for him to end up finding one of the balls on the first green and had no idea. So, and Ben's not here. Oh yeah, Ben's still here. So Ben was able to perfectly capture the sequence of events as Carl found his face on the ball and then realized how many people were hitting those balls throughout the day.
I wondered why on the first hole, Ben was like following me right behind me. And I'm like, you get to be so close, Then I found out why.
They were hitting it a little harder.
Yes, they were.
Yes, my teammates turned my face on the tee box, and then they like, I can hit it further and harder when I'm looking at you. I said, thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate that. But I said, what was funny about that picture is I'm cleaning upper right. I'm cleaning the mud off because my teammate goes, "Hey, Carl, is that my ball?" Well, I got the ball and I couldn't see anything on it. It was covered in mud. So I had to clean the mud off to see my face on there.
You can sort of see it on his
see my
thumb,
mud
on
on
the tip of his thumb.
So, yeah, it was good.
Good.
So that's it. That was the last slide.
Okay, I just have a couple of questions. And what funding from a state budget, Carl? Are you guys concerned about the impacts?
We're in pretty good shape, and we're hearing from our state association that the money, our lines are protected, seem to be in line with last year's and everything. They're not pulling that out. So we seem to be hopefully okay with that. Plus we have, like I said, we have good fund balance in our accounts now to, if we go on much longer, we have a balance. But our state association said everything looks good as far as our line items in the state budget.
Okay, great.
So hopefully that'll maintain.
And Vince, currently that 1 acre or more disturbance requiring that permit, is there any talk of making that a larger surface area, like a 5 acres? Or is it
Yeah.
actually talking about becoming smaller?
There's no talk of it changing, but over the years, it has actually gotten smaller. It used to be way back, it was over 25, then it was over 5, then it was 1 to 5 with a point source discharge, and now it's just 1 acre greater. So I would say that's probably static.
Pretty firm for a while.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, when I started, I was an ENS technician here, and the permit, you didn't have to get a permit unless you disturbed 25 acres or more. That was called just an earth disturbance permit. Then it went to 5 acres. Now it's down to 1. So I would think it's going to stay that way.
It just, the outcry is a lot of small projects really become a bit more cumbersome. Not that the process is delayed through you, it's just the cost involved in it.
So DEP over the years has heard that from the regulated community, and they did create a sort of like a low hazard or low environmental concern permit, which is out there and available for people to apply for. It's not really much of a lower cost to obtain the permit, other than the engineering on it is a little reduced, so you could save costs on that. It didn't really take off real well because the eligibility of that to apply for that permit. And it looks like moving forward that may be loosened up a little bit, maybe to where it is maybe a little more applicable to a larger number of the regulated communities. So that would at least be something maybe on the horizon that would be better for some of those smaller projects. Single family home that has a long driveway or something, a little bit of grading to get the home built where it's maybe 1.5 acres or 2 acres, something like that, of earth disturbance. And that would be up to 5 acres of earth disturbance. So as long as you're below that threshold and met some other criteria, then that would be a permit you could apply for, that there's less cost in the engineering to get the permit.
Yeah, and then the last thing I had wanted to say was just publicly thank you and your team. I received a call related to homeowners association having to potentially starting to take over some retention basins, and they didn't know anything about it. And I know you guys were, if you haven't already worked with them, you were working with them. So thank you and your folks for doing that. Didn't know that was another service that you all provided. So
We've probably had a lot of inquiries over the years when it comes to homeowners associations taking over stormwater ponds. Yeah.
it's all new to me. All right. Any other questions? And I know with the water issues, Jean, I know you're really keeping very close tabs on all of the water. It's going to become more of an issue for Cumberland County. We appreciate all you're doing.
Thanks for the presentation. I go to Conservation District. I'm very familiar with all of this, but
Right.
I always appreciate the presentation. Thank you.
Well,
Anything? Kevin?
no,
Okay,
that's great.
very good.
All right.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right, next up, we have the Financial Analysis Committee, an update. We had some changes to the numbers. Carl was so good.
Yeah, 1 second. So we're going to do a brief presentation today on some changes to our projections and budget from the October 8th presentation. Since that presentation, we've received the estimate for the
retirement ADC, the actuarially determined contribution, and updated indirect cost plan, which is on the meeting tomorrow for formal approval. We've also updated our budget approval timeline since that meeting. So for our projections, since we received the updated ADC estimate for 2026, projections were updated to reflect that change. So before I go into detail on changes in our projections, I want to talk a little bit about an overview of the ADC and how that impacts departments. So we typically receive the estimate for the next year in October. The estimate we received in October of 2024 for 2025 was about 5.1 million. So then at that point, we would evaluate the percentage charged out to departments to make sure that we collect enough from departments to equal that ADC estimate. So we used 8% for 2025, and that was based on the estimate we received in October of 2024. When we received the final amount in the second quarter of 2025, it was an increase from the estimate, so it was increased to 5,319,000 and some change. So with that increase, we needed to adjust the percentage that was charged to departments to fund that ADC. So we adjusted that in July from 8% to 10%. So that was to ensure that we collected enough to fund the full amount of that ADC payment. The general fund typically collects about 62.5% of that total ADC. So the full 5.3 million is not all in the general fund. So then the ADC estimate for 2026 came in around 5,850,000. So with the final amount for 2026, we'll receive that in the second quarter of 2026. And then at that point, we'll adjust projections and evaluate the percentage that we're charging out to departments once we receive that final amount. So are there any questions on that before I move on to the changes in projection? Okay. So I'm going to leave the number slide up on slide 3, and then all the explanations are on slide 4 for those changes. So the first change is our prior projections had no increase in for retirement for 2026. So since we received that estimate, I'm increasing 2026 benefits based on that estimate we just received. So the increase in 2026 then is carried forward in the out years as well. So there's a change in 26 through 2029. But then with that increase in retirement for 2026, our fund balance management amount increased 200,000 in 2026. So then it left less available for 2027. So the combination of these changes then decreased our unassigned fund balance projections for 2027 through 2029. Any questions on those changes? So then for our budget changes, again, I'm going to leave the slide up with the numbers, but all the explanations then are on slide 6. So our benefits decreased in budget due to changing the percentage that we're collecting from departments. So we had left the 10% in budget that we had adjusted in July for this year. We left it at 10% for 2026. So when we got that estimate, we adjusted it down to 8.5%. So while the estimate is higher for 2026 than our actual for 2025, we did that mid-year adjustment in 25. So that piece was a little higher to make up for the first 6 months of the year. So we have it back down to 8.5% for budget in 2026. The other change then is in subsidy. So subsidy also decreased from our prior budget numbers from the October 8th presentation. So subsidy was decreased due to that decrease in the retirement percentage, but also updating numbers for the indirect cost plan that we received after the presentation. And then our one-time money amount that has increased 200,000, and that's due to the change in projections with fund balance management. Questions on changes in budget? So then the final change from that presentation, our timeline has adjusted slightly. The dates for the budget to be approved to go on view and the actual budget approval have shifted a day. So they'll both be on commissioner meetings for approval rather than finance meetings. Any other questions?
I guess I don't have any I'm not looking for any exact answer here, I guess.
Okay.
I'll preface it. So we're all working off of a base, an estimated actuarially determined contribution. So historically, how close have the estimates been when they've provided them? Does anybody know? Are they pretty good at guessing what this is gonna be? Because it's a combination of things. It's a combination of how your plan what returns you receive, right? In addition to your employee statistics. So, I mean, if something really drastic happened in the market, or something like that I'm looking for what could go wrong in this.
So yeah, I was gonna let Dana answer that one.
Okay,
So because Carrie's new in her position, that's one thing I track every year. I still have the sticky of every single year.
okay,
Normally they're pretty close. Normally we are 100, 200,000 over. It's usually really close. However, the market conditions does make a difference on it. And so what happened last year is we had it down in the market, so that's why it increased. But most of the time they get it pretty close to accurate. It's within a couple 100,000. Our salaries, you know, we're also estimating how much salary is going to go up. There's a lot of different things, not just the ADC that rolls into that, but
right.
close.
Okay, thank you. That's, because when you talk about estimates, they're estimates. We don't have hard numbers, but they're pretty darn good. Just like our budgeting, I think is pretty good. So, okay, thank you. Did anyone have any questions of Carrie, Ron, or Dana at this point? Thank you. Thank you. Is there, I think that's it then, folks, for you guys. Thank you very much. Is there any other business to come before the board at this time? I move to adjourn. Okay, we are adjourned. Thank